What is up, everybody? Welcome in to Talkin BS. I am your host, Steven Zamora. You can follow me on Twitter at ZamoraBSB. And today I got a very special offseason preview for one of my favorite young teams in the league. That is the Memphis Grizzlies. What up, Memphis? So, what we're going to be doing today is covering some weaknesses that the Memphis Grizzlies need to improve on that they didn't get to last year. We're going to look at the tools that they have at their disposal to get better. We're going to look at some must-dos, some stuff that they need to check off the list before they go any further into their future. We're going to look at some trade options. We're going to look at the draft, and we're going to look at free agency as three different avenues to improve this team roster construction-wise. And then at the end, we're going to put together a nice little final rotation, 10-man rotation that I hope you guys really enjoy and can be excited about heading into next season. So without further ado, let's get into it, and let's get into these Memphis Grizzlies. So some of the biggest weaknesses that the Memphis Grizzlies need to improve upon is they were 30th in the league in points per game, 30th in fast break points per game, 30th in points in the paint, 27th in assists per game, 29th in assist to turnover ratio, 29th in rebounds allowed per game, 29th in effective field goal percentage, 29th in three-point percentage. So as you can see, it's a lot of like rebounding, shooting percentages, last in the league in points per game, last in the league in transition points, which is mind-blowing to me because Memphis was always known as like a very good defense that led to transition games. So like that one blew my mind a little bit, but I understand you guys went through a lot of injuries last year. Didn't have Steven Adams, didn't have John Morant. So, it is understandable that that's, the kind of toll that, key pieces like that end up taking on your team. But you guys got a lot of tools to get better in the future. So let's look at those. You got the 9th overall pick in the NBA draft, the 39th overall, and the 57th overall in the second round. You have Marcus Smart, Brandon Clark, John Conchar, and Zaire Williams contracts that could be traded. You have the full mid-level exception. You have up to 7 first-round picks and up to 7 second-round picks up until the year 2030. So you're not in a terrible place. You got I believe you have all your own first-round picks until 2030. You got a few seconds in there from other places and stuff like that. You don't have a ton of cap space, but you do have the full mid-level exception. So you are going to be able to sign somebody in free agency, and we're going to see what we can do with those. Before we go any further, though, we need to create a checklist of things that the Memphis Grizzlies need to do before they go any further into the future with this team. So what they need to do is decide how far the roster tweaking must go. They need to find a big to replace what Steven Adams brought to the table, rebounding, screen setting. Get your finances in order. Fill the hole that Brooks left. Find some shooting. Get healthy and maintain it. That last one is absolutely key. Hopefully next year you guys are one of the healthier teams and you guys can kind of bounce back from such a disappointing season. But what we're going to look at next is the draft. And you guys do have the 9th overall pick in this year's draft. So we're going to look at some prospects that, you guys might be able to target with that 9th overall pick. So what you can see here is I'm bringing up a CBS draft, a Tankathon draft, and in the middle, the big one is provided by The Ringer. And as you can see, there isn't a ton of star talent in this draft. Of course, every draft does end up having a few stars in it. So, even the draft where Giannis came out of was like a historically terrible draft, and Giannis came out of it. So, there is a chance that there are some stars in here. Every draft has them. But as of right now, a lot of these guys are projected to be like valuable role players. You got guys in there compared to like Triple J, Markelle Fultz, Derek White, Seth Curry, guys like that. And on that second graphic there, you'll see guys are, compared to Michael Porter Jr., Chandler Parsons, Tyreek Evans, Michael Finley. So a lot of good role players in this draft, projected role players at least, guys who can connect the dots and kind of fill a role within a certain team. Not a lot of star power, right? It's with my belief that if you want to go the draft route, I believe that's a great option, right? It's always good to go and get some youth, especially since you had such a rough year and you ended up with the 9th overall pick. That could be a blessing, right? You could end up with some really good talent. I'd probably look at Ron Holland. That'd be my favorite prospect out of this draft for you guys. I think he could fall to you guys it's very possible that he will. You could add some wing depth. Like I said, we got to replace Brooks in some way, right? While the kid's 6'8", 200 pounds, long, athletic wing who can defend 1 through 5. And, he's a very good defender. Poor shooter, though, right? Not a great shooter. So to me, what I would do is I would look at some trade options, to be honest. As I was going through this exercise and I was looking at your guys' roster, I wanted to first off match some contracts, right? Like I said, I don't really want to trade Marcus Smart because I believe Marcus Smart could be a very key contributor to your guys' future. And you did give up quite a bit to acquire him, right? So I don't want to get rid of Marcus Smart. The next biggest contract on the team is Brandon Clark. Now, in my opinion, you guys are pretty deep at the power forward position. I talked to a lot of Grizzlies fans on Reddit, and they gave me a lot of great insight. So if you're watching this, I appreciate you guys so much. But they gave me a lot of great insight, and a lot of guys on the sub, were like, well, we could play Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. in the front court, let Brandon Clark take over the center position. And to me, I just don't think that's the smartest way to go about it, right? You're going to be a little undersized. Brandon Clark's a good rebounder, but he's a good rebounder for his size. Steven Adams, like we said, we're trying to replace what Steven Adams brought to the table and what we lost with him. So to me, you add Brandon Clark into that starting lineup, it just isn't the same punch that Steven Adams had, especially on the screen setting. Steven Adams is one of the best screen setters in the NBA, frees up guys like John Morant to be able to get around their guys and get open lanes, right? So to me, I thought, it'd be better to go and get a real, legit starting caliber center who, in the playoffs, you're going to have one of the better centers in the league still. In the playoffs, chances are that 20th best center is probably going to be the 16th best center in the playoffs. So, I want to upgrade that position a little bit. And this is the trade that I came up with. So to Cleveland, we're sending Brandon Clark, Luke Kennard, and the 2024 first, 9th overall, and bringing back Jarrett Allen and Dean Wade. This trade makes a lot of sense to me on both fronts. Let's get Cleveland out of the way. Cleveland is kind of in a soft reset, it seems like. There's a lot of friction going on over there. Donovan Mitchell called out his teammates, I guess came out after the playoffs and said that there were teammates on the team that were immature, and he didn't, I don't know if he enjoyed his time in Cleveland or whatever. Sounds like he's on his way out. I know that Cleveland was looking at trades for Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen to see if they could improve the roster. At the end of the day, I think if you're going to move off of Jarrett Allen, getting a guy like Brandon Clark is not a bad return. At the end of the day, I think Cleveland should be trying to move Mobley to that 5, and I think Brandon Clark would be a great fit next to him because Brandon Clark could stretch the floor a bit. He's a hustle guy. He could rebound, switchable defender, can guard 1 through 4 and 1 through 5 really. And, I think he'd be a really good fit next to Mobley there. You get Luke Kennard as well, who can add some good shooting on that team, which is desperately needed because the only shooter that they really have consistently is Max Strus. And Darius Garland, I guess, but we'll see if he ends up staying as well. And then on top of that, you get the 9th overall pick, which, like I said, could be a Ron Holland, could be a Rob Dillingham, could be Alexander Resache. There's a lot of good prospects that they could get with that 9th overall pick that could really help them out. And like I said, if it's a soft reset, you could do worse. For Memphis, I think this is a great option because if you bring in Jarrett Allen and put him next to Triple J, you immediately have an elite front court defensively. You got 2 of the best shot blockers in the league. You got a very good rebounder to help Jaren Jackson, and both of them can switch out on the perimeter a little bit. You also get Dean Wade, who's going to be another forward you can add into the forward mix that you're going to need. Like I said, you're going to need somebody who's going to, replace Brooks. I'm not saying Dean Wade is necessarily going to do that, but it is some forward depth that is much needed on this team. So with that said, let's head into free agency. Okay. So we're going to break down the Memphis Grizzlies cap situation. The Grizzlies have big contracts given out to the mainstays of their young core, with $36 million dedicated to Ja, $34 million to Bane, $25 million to Triple J, and $20 million to Smart. They don't have the financial wiggle room to add anything more than a mid-level exception player, especially considering they have most of their roster spots already accounted for. So let's look at some rumored free agent targets that I think would be great fits in Memphis and what they're building there. The Grizzlies need some wing depth, right? So let's look at some wings. We got Kelly Oubre, Sadiq Bey, Royce O'Neal, Najee Marshall, Sam Hauser, Derek Jones Jr., Cedi Osman, Simone Fontecchio. There's a lot of good guys there that have provided a lot for the team that they were just on. We'll start at the top, Kelly Oubre, Sadiq Bey. They're very good shooters, very good scorers. I think they could bring a lot to the table offensively, and they're pretty big, so they can help on defense as well. They're not bad defenders by any means, so I think they're a really good culture fit there, and I think they could bring a lot to the table for what Memphis is asking for. Then you got guys like Royce O'Neal and Najee Marshall, two big wings that can defend a lot of positions and are pretty good three-point shooters. Najee actually had his best three-point shooting year this past season. So I think those are really good options as well. Sam Hauser, Chetty Osman, Fontecchio are all very good shooters as well. Little lacking on the defensive side, but good connective pieces and, guys who you are not going to leave open in that corner. Derek Jones Jr. just adds another element of vertical pop and adds some vertical spacing to this team. And he's a threat anytime he's heading towards the rim. So, you could always add some more athleticism in Memphis. Then we'll look at the big men. Andre Drummond, Dario Saric, Jackson Hayes, Luke Cornett, JaVale McGee, Drew Eubanks, Thomas Bryant. So we're adding Jarrett Allen to the squad, but he's going to need a backup. You could stick with Gigi Jackson and Santi Aldama and Jaren Jackson as, rotational pieces, whatever you need as that backup five. But to me, I would add another giant to the squad because you look at a team like Minnesota, right? How they just beat Denver in the Western semis. And it's because they had a good rotation of big men who can handle all that size inside. You're going to need that in the Western Conference because there's a lot of big teams out here. It's part of the reason why we sent Brandon Clark to another team. So to me, I think you go out and get one of these guys just as insurance, right? You just need another 7-footer in there who can rebound, block shots, defend the rim. If he could be a lob threat, that's even better. So this is the final rotation that we have come up with today. A good 10-man rotation is something that every NBA team needs, and it'll be huge for Memphis. And if you get this 10-man rotation, I believe you guys are going to skyrocket straight back into the top of the Western Conference. So let's start at the point guard position. We got John Morant backed up by Marcus Smart. At the 2, we got Desmond Bane backed up by John Conchar. At the 3, Vince Williams Jr. backed up by Dean Wade. At the 4, we got Jaren Jackson Jr. backed up by Gigi Jackson. At the 5, we got Jarrett Allen backed up by JaVale McGee. At the guard, all 4 of them bring something very different to the table. Desmond is a great defender, and he can handle the ball. He proved he could play some point guard in spots when John Morant isn't playing. Marcus Smart, same thing. He could play the point guard for you. So you got options there. At the 2, you got some spacing with Desmond and Conchar. Then at the 3, you got Vince Williams Jr. and Dean Wade. A lot of spacing. Vince Williams Jr., I think he had a great year last year. I thought he was played really well. And, the Memphis fans that I've talked to all loved him and thought he could start as well. So, I think that's a big upgrade for them and a lot of help going into next season. Jaren Jackson Jr. backed up by Gigi Jackson. Now, you could put Santi Aldama there. It doesn't really matter. Having a 5-man, big man lineup of Gigi Jackson, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jarrett Allen, JaVale McGee, and Santi Aldama, you'll have one of the best front courts in the NBA. And at the end of the day, I think this rotation here will turn into one of the best defenses in the entire NBA. You got huge front court that is a huge menace in the paint. You got guys on the perimeter like Desmond Bane, Vince Williams Jr. is a pretty good defender, and Marcus Smart, of course, right? You can throw a lineup out there of Smart, Bane, Williams, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jarrett Allen, and just shut everything down for people. You get this lineup going. You guys, like I said, are heading straight back to the top of the Western Conference, and all led by John Morant, one of my favorite players in the entire NBA, man. So I hope he has a healthy year. I hope the Memphis Grizzlies as a whole have a healthy year, and I'm rooting for you guys, and I'm a Nuggets fan. I'll be real with you. I'm a Nuggets fan, so I'm a little threatened by you guys. But the best of luck to you guys this season. I really hope you guys thrive. And, Memphis deserves it, man. If you do like this video, please, please, please like and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it so, so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm grinding every day trying to get this channel going. I'm bringing these off-season previews to you every day. I'm trying to get all 30 teams done before the draft in June. Hopefully I could do it. I'm going to try my best, but if you can, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate you guys so much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Talking BS, we out.